traditional route for nations in similar predicaments. But Traoré took a different approach, a bolder one. He believed that Burkina Faso had everything it needed to stand on its own. The key was unlocking its potential and rallying the people to believe in a shared vision of self-reliance. Traoré's approach wasn't just revolutionary, it was risky. By rejecting the safety net of foreign aid, he opened Burkina Faso to significant economic challenges. But he also set the stage for a remarkable transformation, one that would not only pay off the nation's debt, but also reshape its future. This audacity to challenge deeply entrenched systems is what makes Traoré's story so compelling. But to truly appreciate the magnitude of his achievement, we need to delve into the specifics of Burkina Faso's transformation. When Traoré took the reins of Burkina Faso, the numbers painted a bleak picture. The nation owed $4.79 billion, an astronomical figure for a country with limited economic infrastructure. But Traoré saw these numbers not as insurmountable obstacles, but as challenges that could be tackled with the right strategy.
L'armée ira où elle doit aller pour sécuriser nos richesses, puisque c'est de ça qu'il s'agit. Nous sommes victimes de nos richesses. Ces richesses que les impérialistes veulent, coûte que coûte, reprendre en main et nous maintenir dans notre esclavage. Nous allons les sécuriser, parce que le Burkina Faso n'abandonnera jamais. Le Burkina Faso n'abdiquera jamais. Le Burkina Faso va combattre. Nous sommes un peuple fier, combattant, guerrier et digne. Et nous continuerons dans ce sens. Tous ceux qui rêvent de voir le Burkina Faso à genoux pour espérer nous ramener dans l'esclavage doivent comprendre qu'ils ont échoué. Parce que ceux qui ont risqué leur vie hier nous ont instruit de continuer le combat jusqu'à notre liberté totale et notre indépendance. Que Dieu fasse en sorte que l'année 2025 soit l'année de notre victoire finale sur l'ennemi. Merci à tous. La patrie ou la mort, nous vaincrons.
One of his first steps was to identify where the nation's wealth was leaking. Burkina Faso is rich in natural resources, particularly gold, yet little of this wealth remains within its borders. For years, foreign corporations dominated the mining sector, extracting vast riches while paying minimal taxes or royalties. Traoré's administration took a hard stance against these exploitative practices, renegotiating contracts to ensure a fairer share of profits for Burkina Faso. He also cracked down on illegal mining operations, which had siphoned off millions of dollars in revenue. We will talk about all the strategies later in the video as well. But financial reform wasn't limited to resource management. Traoré's government also prioritized fiscal discipline. Wasteful spending was curbed, and government resources were redirected toward critical areas like debt repayment and infrastructure development. This wasn't about austerity. It was about ensuring that every dollar spent had a purpose. What made Traoré's approach truly transformative, however, was his ability to engage the people. Instead of presenting debt repayment as a government task, he framed it as a national mission. This sense of shared responsibility became a driving force behind Burkina Faso's financial turnaround. But the question remained, why was paying off the debt so important? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Debt for nations like Burkina Faso is more than just numbers on a balance sheet. It is a mechanism of control. For decades, Burkina Faso, like many African nations, was ensnared in the web of dependency spun by international financial institutions. These loans often came with a catch, structural adjustment programs that dictated
You
how
made
the
it.
country could spend its money,
You are
prioritize its
strong,
industries, and even manage
young.
its resources.
You save
The
your
conditions
nation.
were designed not to empower, but
I
to
hope
ensure
all the other
repayment,
African they will do
creating a
the
system
same.
where foreign interests were prioritized
Stand
over
for
local
them,
needs.
people.
Take, for instance,
Stand
the
for the
agricultural
nation.
sector, a lifeline for much of
Not to
Burkina
be
Faso's
as a slave.
population. Structural adjustment programs often
No
demanded
more.
the liberalization of markets,
But your
which meant
ancestors,
slashing
they will
subsidies
protect
for
you
local
from up,
farmers to
as
make
you
way
said.
for foreign agricultural
Your
products.
ancestors, they will
While this might
protect
have
you.
made Burkina Faso's
Burkina
markets
Faso,
more
he has
competitive in
everything.
theory,
He has
in practice,
everything. He's
it
very
flooded the
rich.
local economy with cheap imports,
But the way how they
devastating
live,
domestic production.
why?
Farmers
Because
struggled to
all the
sell their
Western
crops,
country they take
food
it.
security declined, and the nation
All
became
Western country
increasingly
they take it.
dependent on external sources for
Especially,
its survival.
especially
This
France
wasn't
and
just an
America.
economic issue. It was a loss of sovereignty. Traoré understood this dynamic well. To him, debt wasn't merely a financial burden. It was a symbol of
God
external
give you power.
domination. Every dollar
Save
owed
your
to foreign
nation.
creditors represented another dollar that couldn't be invested in building schools, hospitals, or infrastructure. Worse, every policy dictated by creditors eroded Burkina Faso's ability to govern itself. This loss of autonomy wasn't just abstract, it had very real consequences for the lives of ordinary people. For Traoré, paying off the debt wasn't just about balancing budgets. It was about breaking free from a system that had kept Burkina Faso and other African nations locked in cycles of poverty and dependence. This was as much a
Yes,
political
yes,
act as it
yes,
was an
yes, yes.
economic one. By
God
eliminating
bless
the
you.
debt,
Seriously, God
Burkina
bless you.
Faso could
I
finally
feel
make
like
decisions that prioritize the needs of its
Eritrean
citizens
president,
rather
young
than
one.
meeting the expectations of foreign institutions.
As the Eritrean president,
Moreover,
that he
the psychological
refused to
impact of
take
debt
aid.
cannot be
He
understated.
refused to
For years,
even
debt had been a
even
source
he
of national
refused
shame.
to
It
let the
perpetuated
nation
the
to get
narrative that
injection of
Burkina
COVID.
Faso, and by
See how
extension
he saved
Africa,
his
could
nation.
not succeed without the
He sent
intervention
it
of
back. They
wealthier,
sent
more
full
developed
airplane. They
nations.
tell them no.
By
I'm
erasing
not
this
giving
debt,
this poison to
Traoré
my
restored
nation.
not just
Send
economic
them,
sovereignty,
send them back.
but also
Even
national
the
pride.
mask, they
It
didn't
sent
take
a
it.
powerful message to the world. Burkina Faso was no longer a nation begging for help. It was a nation standing tall,
See,
ready to determine its destiny. This act of financial
and this
liberation
young
also
man
opened the door for broader reforms.
from last
With the
year,
debt gone,
he's
Burkina
been
Faso
long,
could
but
redirect
from
resources
this
toward
2 years,
domestic
especially from
priorities.
last year,
It could invest in
he's
education, ensuring
openly
that
he
future
sent
generations
away
have the tools
all
to
the
innovate and lead. It could improve healthcare, extending the reach of critical
German
services to
authorities. They
underserved
was
regions.
inside his
It
country.
could build
They was
infrastructure,
stealing
connect
all the
communities, and
things
enable
by in the
commerce.
name of
In short,
humanitarian.
paying off the debt was a means to an end, the end of external control and the beginning of self-determination. But perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of Traoré's
Imagine
decision
all
was
African
its
countries, they are
implications
rich,
for
they have
Africa
all
as a
the
whole.
resource,
In a
but they
continent where
can't
many
stand up.
nations
Why?
face
Because the
similar
Western
challenges,
countries, they make
Burkina Faso's success
rubbish,
became a symbol of what's
nonsense,
possible. It challenged the narrative that debt
bullshit,
is an inescapable reality
foolish,
for developing nations. It
just in the
inspired
name of
other leaders to
humanitarian.
consider bold alternatives to dependency, proving that
But God, He will
financial
help you.
freedom isn't just
Ibrahim
a
Torre,
lofty ideal, it's
God,
a tangible goal,
Terrore,
achievable with the right
Ibrahim,
vision and leadership.
God will help
But
you.
what magic did Traoré do to pay off this debt? Paying off $4.79 billion in national
Bravo,
debt without Western aid was no small feat, and Ibrahim Traoré's approach was both strategic and revolutionary.
bravo.
His success lay in a combination of leveraging Burkina Faso's natural resources, implementing disciplined economic policies, diversifying income streams, and fostering a sense of unity among his people. Every step was carefully crafted to achieve the ultimate goal of financial independence while ensuring the country could sustain itself long term. Burkina Faso's gold reserves were central to Traoré's strategy.
Wow.
As one of Africa's top gold producers, the country had immense untapped potential in its mining sector. However, foreign corporations had long dominated the industry, extracting vast amounts of wealth while leaving Burkina Faso with minimal benefits. To reclaim
This is
wealth,
God gift. They have
Traoré
all African
renegotiated
country.
existing contracts
They
with
have
foreign
them
mining
own
companies.
resource, all African
His
country, but
administration
Western
demanded
country,
a
they
greater
don't want
share
them
of
Africa
profits for the
to
state,
grow up
arguing that the
because they
current
take all
agreements were
the
exploitative and
minerals
unfairly
from
benefited
Africa.
multinational corporations.
Hmm?
Traoré made it clear that if these companies wanted to continue operating in Burkina Faso, they needed to respect its sovereignty. His strong stance was backed by public support, which gave his administration leverage during negotiations. Illegal mining, which had flourished due to weak enforcement, was also addressed. Traoré implemented measures to formalize these operations, requiring miners to register and pay taxes. This crackdown not only brought in additional revenue, but also improved working conditions and reduced environmental damage caused by
Africa
unregulated
is
activity.
Africa. Hmm?
We are 100 meters underground.
Africa is Africa with all her richness, with all her nation, with all her problems, with all our ancestors. They let her to be called Africa. The slavers, they let her to be called now Africa because of them.
Accounting for a high percentage of the country's total export revenues. Mining revenues amounted to the equivalent of 255 million euros in 2015.
To ensure inclusivity, Traoré promoted local participation in the mining sector. Small-scale miners were empowered through training programs and access to modern equipment, enabling them to increase productivity and contribute to the nation's economy. The revenue generated from these efforts was directly funneled into debt repayment, turning Burkina Faso's gold reserves into a tool for financial liberation. But Traoré understood that repaying billions of dollars in debt required more than just increased revenue. It required smarter spending. His administration launched a comprehensive review of government expenditures, identifying areas where money was being wasted or misused. Extravagant spending on luxury items, unnecessary international travel, and bloated administrative budgets were among the first targets. Ministries were asked to justify their budgets and eliminate non-essential expenses. This austerity wasn't about punishing citizens, but about ensuring that every franc spent was directed toward the nation's most pressing
God
needs,
protects
including debt
Africa.
repayment.
Africa for
Public sector
Africans.
wages, which accounted for a significant
And then
portion of
all
government
European and
spending,
American
were
you
also
complain
reformed.
because they have too much immigrant.
Traoré's
You did
administration
it by
introduced
yourself,
measures
eh?
to prevent
You did because you did it in
overpayment and
purpose.
ensure
The,
that
look,
salaries
all
were
African they
distributed
didn't
fairly
have to
and
be happy in them country. They have to
Corruption,
go out in
long
them
a drain
country.
on
They
the
have to
nation's
be happy in
finances,
another
was
country.
tackled through stricter
You
oversight
you
and the
you you
establishment
make
of
slavery,
time-bound
modern
prison
slavery in
bodies.
your country.
Officials found
You
guilty
did
of
modern
misusing
slavery.
public funds were held
But
accountable,
African they
sending
wake
a
up
clear
now,
message that the era of impunity was over. Relying
and God
solely
will
on gold
protect.
wasn't enough to
And
sustain Burkina Faso's
hold
long-term
all of you that
financial
what you have in
goals.
your country because you take it all from
Traoré knew
Africa.
that the country needed to diversify its economy,
All
to
of you.
create multiple revenue streams, and reduce its vulnerability to
That
fluctuations
God
in
is
gold
watching.
prices. Traoré's
God is
administration
protecting
invested
Africa.
heavily in
He
modernizing
let
agriculture,
Africa to be
which
poor.
employs a
He let
significant
Africa
portion
in
of the
hunger.
population. Farmers were
Just to
provided
fight
with
each
access
other,
to
between
improved
each other,
seeds,
between another African
fertilizers,
country to
and
another
irrigation
African country.
systems,
You
enabling
make
them
us to
increase
fight,
yields. Training
but
programs
God
were
is
launched to
watching.
teach sustainable farming practices, ensuring that the agricultural
God
boom
is
wouldn't
watching
come at the
everything.
expense of the environment. As production increased, Burkina
Before
Faso
long
began
time,
exporting surplus
our
crops,
great great grandfathers,
generating
you let them to
much-needed
be
foreign
slave.
exchange.
Huh?
Traoré
But now you
capitalized
did
on
modern
Burkina
slave.
Faso's abundant sunlight by
Young
investing in solar
generations, they
energy.
have to go out from them
Large-scale
country
solar farms were
to
constructed,
come to Europe, to
reducing
come
the
to
country's
America, to
reliance
come
on
to
imported fuels and
Australia,
cutting energy
wherever.
policies.
Just they have to go
The
out from
excess energy
Africa.
produced was exported
And
to
then the
neighboring
other Western
countries,
country they can go.
creating another revenue stream to
European or
support debt
Western country they can go as
Local
a tourist and
entrepreneurs
they can
and
do
small
whatever they
businesses
want.
were key
No,
to Traoré's economic
God is
strategy.
watching
Microloans and grants were made available to startups,
to take all the
encouraging
richness
innovation
out
and
of
job
Africa.
creation.
It will
These
not happen
businesses
again.
contributed to the economy through taxes and exports, further boosting the nation's income. But Traoré didn't just rely on the government to pay off the debt. He made it a national effort. His administration launched campaigns to educate citizens about the importance of debt repayment and how it would benefit the country in the long run. These campaigns fostered a sense of shared responsibility and inspired people to contribute. Community-based savings initiatives were established, particularly in rural areas. These cooperatives allowed citizens to pool their resources and invest in local projects, such as schools or healthcare centers, which freed up government funds for debt repayment.
Before I didn't sell much to the village. Now it's a lot.
You became a little rich or very rich?
A bit.
Burkina Faso wants to raise the country's prosperity level. The government's economic and social development plan aims for 8% growth every year until 2020.
Traoré introduced a domestic bond program, encouraging wealthy Burkinabe and local businesses to invest in their country's future. These bonds provided the government with immediate funds to pay off creditors while offering investors a return on their money. While Traoré rejected traditional Western aid, he didn't isolate Burkina Faso from the global community. Instead, he sought partnerships that respected the nation's sovereignty and aligned with its goals. Burkina Faso strengthened its trade ties with neighboring countries, boosting exports of agricultural products and manufactured goods. These agreements not only increased revenue, but also reduced reliance on distant markets. Traoré collaborated with nations and organizations willing to invest in infrastructure and resource development without imposing exploitative conditions. Partnerships with countries like China focused on mutually beneficial projects, such as road construction and industrial development, that contributed to economic growth. One of the cornerstones of Traore's strategy was transparency. The government provided regular updates on the nation's progress in paying off its debt, detailing how funds were being allocated. This openness built trust among citizens and ensured that everyone understood the significance of their contributions. Independent audits were conducted to track the flow of money, and any misuse of public funds was swiftly addressed. By fostering a culture of accountability, Traoré not only ensured the efficient use of resources, but also strengthened the bond between the government and its people. Through these steps, Traoré managed to pay off Burkina Faso's debt, while laying the foundation for a more resilient and self-reliant economy. His approach wasn't just about numbers, it was about transforming the way the nation operated, from resource management to governance. By reclaiming sovereignty over its wealth, fostering unity, and prioritizing long-term growth, Burkina Faso became a shining example of what determined leadership and collective effort can achieve. Now the question is, what does this mean for the whole of Africa? Burkina Faso's success under Ibrahim Traoré didn't just change the trajectory of one nation. It sent shockwaves across Africa. For years, the continent has grappled with the challenges of dependency, resource exploitation, and underdevelopment. Traoré's leadership demonstrated that these challenges, while daunting, are not insurmountable. One of the most significant lessons from Burkina Faso's journey is the importance of resource control. Africa is rich in natural resources, yet much of its wealth has been extracted by foreign corporations, leaving little behind for local populations. Traoré's decision to renegotiate mining contracts and ensure that a larger share of profits remained within Burkina Faso set a powerful precedent. It showed that African nations could take control of their resources and use them to benefit their people. Another key lesson is the role of leadership. Traoré's ability to inspire trust, foster unity, and make difficult decisions was instrumental in Burkina Faso's success. His emphasis on transparency and accountability strengthened the bond between the government and the people, creating a sense of shared purpose that drove the nation forward.